up here last week. That's what brought it.
We're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome each of you to tonight's meeting. This is the 18th business meeting of the City Board of Directors for 2017. We'll start our meeting with an invocation by Pastor John Byer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor John.
Mr. Mayor, please join me in prayer. Father in heaven, we come before you this day with grateful and humble hearts, acknowledging that every good and perfect gift really has come down from heaven from you. And the gift of life and health and family and wealth and the blessings of being a part of citizens of this country and to be citizens of this great city, where we are blessed in so many wonderful ways. You have determined where we live and move and have our being, and we are blessed to be in this place. We're here grateful for good government and the blessings you give us through those who lead in this way. We also come with heavy hearts, knowing that there are so many hurting people around us in our country, all around the world, even in the city. We ask for your presence and your comfort and your peace for those in need, for that comfort that they need. But especially we're here tonight with hungry hearts, hungry for your presence and for your wisdom, that you will bless those who lead us, our city council and mayor, that you will give them wisdom and understanding and peace and patience and kindness, and that you will use them to bring glory to your name and to bless the citizens of this great city that we call home. So come, Lord Jesus, and be our special guest. Holy Spirit, we invite you to come. You are the Spirit of wisdom. And Father, we just want all the glory to be given to you. And we especially thank you that you have loved us through the gift of your Son, Jesus, and given us life and life eternal. So to you truly belongs all the praise. In your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor John. We'll now call this meeting to order and ask for the roll call of Board of Directors, please.
Yes, sir. Davidson?
Here.
Jones?
Here.
Clark?
Here.
Williams?
Here.
Garcia?
Here.
Foley?
Here.
McCabe?
Here. The agenda is before you, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented, or are there any changes or additions to the agenda, including those in the consent agenda? Hearing none.
So move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Director Jones, seconded by Director Garcia. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The agenda has been approved. Approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting of October 3rd, 2017. Any additions, deletions, corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Director Clark, seconded by Director Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. We have two proclamations and a presentation here this evening. First proclamation will be for Small Business Saturday. Small Business Saturday reads as follows. Whereas the governance of Hot Springs, Arkansas celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 28.8 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all businesses with employees in the United States, are responsible for 63% of net new jobs created over the past 20 years. And whereas small businesses employ over 48% of of all businesses with employees in the United States. And whereas, on average, 33% of consumers' holiday shopping will be done at small, independently owned retailers and restaurants. Whereas 91% of all consumers believe that supporting small, independently owned restaurants is important, and whereas 76% of all consumers plan to go to one or more small businesses as part of their holiday shopping, and whereas Hot Springs, Arkansas supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods. And whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving, a small business Saturday. And now therefore I, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim November 25th, 2017, a small business Saturday in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And I urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be affixed on the 7th day of November in the year of our Lord 2017. So, with the holidays upon us, walk up and down Central Avenue, down Park Avenue, around the corner there at Whittington, and all the other locally owned stores throughout our community, and spread your little bit of wealth so you can bring cheer to those on Christmas Day or Hanukkah. Right?
Amen.
I mean, when you really think about it, just kind of let your mind go down Central Avenue, from basically Washita all the way north, and it's all essentially all small businesses.
And Mayor, one of the things I noticed is that when you're trying to find a gift or just a little something for a holiday, there's so many things that are mass-produced and they're the same everywhere, but Hot Springs has unique stuff. And I can tell you there's a lot of people in Portland right now that love Kilwins who never heard of it before. Because when I went there recently, I took some cheer from Kilwins, and Hot Springs has a lot of unique gifts that people can enjoy. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to call forward Angela Riley and Daryl Applewhite of Hospice of Central Arkansas to the podium. We have a proclamation for hospice organizations and palliative care entities within our community across the state. Whereas hospice and palliative care offer high-quality services and support to patients and family caregivers facing serious and life-threatening illnesses, and whereas hospice and palliative care providers take time to ask what's important to those in their care, and whereas skilled and compassionate hospice and palliative care professionals, including physicians, nurses, social workers, therapists, counselors, health aides, and clergy, provide comprehensive care focused on the wishes of each individual patient. And whereas through pain management, symptom control, caregiver training and assistance, and emotional and spiritual support, hospice and palliative care providers help patients live fully up until the final moments, surrounded and supported by the faces of loved ones, friends, and committed caregivers. And whereas the provision of quality hospice and palliative care reaffirms our belief in the essential dignity of every person, regardless of age, health, or social status, and that every stage of human life deserves to be treated with the utmost respect and care. And whereas more than 1.5 million Americans living with life-limiting illnesses receive care from the nation's hospice programs in communities throughout the United States every year. And whereas hospice and palliative care providers encourage all people to learn more about the options of care and to share their wishes with family, loved ones, and their healthcare professionals. Now therefore I, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2017 as National Hospice and Palliative Care Month. In Hot Springs, Arkansas, encourage all citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of care at end of life and to observe this month with appropriate activities and programs. A witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Hot Springs to be affixed on the 7th day of November in the year of our Lord 2017. Angela and Daryl, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just appreciate it. We feel very privileged to provide care to those in our community and surrounding community and their families. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
This time, I'd like to call to the podium Ned Skook with the Friends of the Park.
Yes,
Yes, good to see y'all. Good evening.
good evening.
I am, of course, Ned Skoog. I'm the current president of Friends of the Park. I do have some other board members here I wanted to introduce. John Simpson, Barry Horner, Ken Freeman, Jeff Carr, and Michael Carr. And other friends here, a lot of people have helped with these efforts. We have a check here for $15,450 to help with the funds needed for the construction that's currently underway on the Greenway. And I would mention that this is like a lot of these projects that involve some city funds, federal funds, a grant project, and some from friends. So as such, that seems a attractive proposition, having some private involvement and having $4 for every dollar we put in, we get from federal. So it's a good thing. And this is a continuation of some of our efforts for direct dollars and land acquisition efforts. Might also mention we currently have 3 properties that are in Friends ownership that are in the process of being transferred for other activities. And we hope all these efforts will result in the completion of the Hot Springs Creek Greenway and other trails in the Master Trails Plan at some point. And of course, we feel like these are beneficial as economic conditions, improve water and air quality through dedicated green infrastructure, encouragement of good health and family activities, the opportunity for alternate transportation, better flood and stormwater control, and just the overall appearance or quality of place of our surroundings. I'd like to thank a lot of people, but some friends such as Spa Pacers, B&F Engineers here has helped a lot, Garland County Title, Cost Appraisals, a lot of people. I hate to even mention a few because there's so many. Also like to thank others working on similar activities right now, Visit Hot Springs in Garland County, and like to thank Gene and the city staff, and like to thank all you guys of the city board. We recognize your volunteers also and contribute very significant personal time, so appreciate that.
Right.
So I have a check here.
Get up, Mayor, go get the money.
Everybody smile.
Teresa, run up there and get it before he spends it. Teresa needs to get it before he spends it.
Be expecting.
Thank you, Ned. I wish to extend warm thanks and appreciation to all those who make up Friends of the Park and for all your efforts and support, guidance, and direction. So thank you. Well, we're down to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to thank Bill Burrow and Terry Payne and Randy Atler for their work, and there were other staff, but those were the leaders on this project for the water meter customer portal. Hot Springs Municipal Utilities water customers can now have anytime secure viewing of their water usage through a new web-based water meter customer portal now online at www.cityhs.net. Customers will be able to monitor current usage, set usage alerts to view history and trends. The portal even offers customers the opportunity for potential early leak detection if abnormal usage is detected. The customer can set thresholds for usage and receive an alert if the threshold is exceeded. I might have that next year for my garden. To set up a portal, just click on the link at the bottom of the city's homepage. So thank you guys so much for your work on that. Also, the Veterans Celebration Parade will begin at 6:30 on Thursday, November 9th at the junction of Whittington Park and Central Avenues, proceeding south on Central Avenue and ending at Olive Street. Among other activities, there's a free spaghetti dinner and dance for veterans and guests on Friday, November 10th at the Elks Lodge. Dinner takes place at 5:30 with a live band and dancing afterward. At 11 a.m. on Saturday, November 11th, the Veterans Day ceremony will be held at the Garland County Veterans Memorial in the Transportation Plaza. And then from 1 until 3 that day, the 18th, annual USO-type show will be held near the J.C. Penney store inside the Hot Springs Mall. This free show pays tribute to our dedicated servicemen and women who have given much to preserve the freedom that Americans enjoy. All of us at the City of Hot Springs wish our veterans and their families a happy and joyous Veterans Day, and we thank them for their service. Also, in observance of Veterans Day Parade, the Malvern Avenue Gateway Project public open house has been rescheduled to a later date, and we appreciate the effort staff made to reschedule that. And then some of you may recall the For What It's Worth event. That fundraiser, sponsored by the city's Arts Advisory Committee, resulted in 122 objects being viewed and appraised by professional antique and fine art auctioneers, including a Salvador Dali print. The event netted $650 that will go towards Hot Springs public art acquisition and maintenance. And then the 15th annual Tom Daniel Chili Cook-Off will be held on Monday, November 20th at the Exchange Street Parking Plaza starting at 4:30 p.m. Local TV personality Ned Perm will be on hand to light the downtown Christmas lights. And then we have, we're approaching Thanksgiving, and there's someone here in the audience I want to thank. I think it was about 6 or 8 months ago, when James Montgomery became the leader of our Metro Partnership Board, he was at first I thought on a fool's errand, because he was determined to have meetings between city leadership and county leaders and try to work out a better relationship between us. And we'd been having some of those meetings before the mayor came, but James and Lat, too, basically should have given up a long time ago, but they didn't. And as a result of that, we continued having these meetings, and I was telling James over the weekend, I saw him at another event, and just how thankful I am for the fact that he was determined enough to keep pressing us to keep meeting. And, we've developed a genuine fondness for our county partners, even though we don't always see eye to eye on policy. And some of that's going to be natural because our institutions have such different missions, and we have, different organizational structures and budgeting and things that sometimes impair our ability to agree with each other, but it hasn't impaired our ability to like one another. And I've only been here 21 months, but in that time, this is the best the relationship has ever been. And I think a lot of it is due to you, James. So thank you, and thank you, Mayor, as well, for both of you. Next up, we also have to do something about our calendar. We have a couple of conflicts coming up for board meetings and holidays. I'll turn it over to Lance Spicer to finish that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Frazier. I believe at your stations and also within your packet was some proposed meeting dates coming up as we move into December, and then obviously into January with the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday. But really what we've got is the Christmas, the 25th and the 26th, due to the observance of the Christmas holiday. That would normally be on the 26th, your agenda meeting date. So what we're trying to do is determine or get some direction from the board. Would you want to move your agenda meeting dates out that week to the 27th or the 28th of December? Or there's an option B, which in essence, it removes that first January meeting date, and we just go ahead and have one board meeting in January, have the agenda meeting the 9th, have the board meeting the 16th, and staff would like a little direction on that, and we can go ahead and plan your meeting schedule and the notices that go with it.
Director Williams.
I move we adopt option B.
Option B would forego the meeting of January 2nd, and the first meeting in 2018 would be January 16th with the agenda meeting January 9th. So, any discussion on that?
We're good.
I'll second it.
Do we need it? We have a motion, we got a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, you can come on January 2nd. if you can get access. All right. So we'll be meeting on the 16th with the agenda meeting on the 9th of January. We'll have 2 meetings in December, and we have 1 more meeting after this in November. So we still got plenty of meetings. This time I'd ask for any announcements from Board of Directors on upcoming events. Director Williams.
Yes, we still have a statewide pageant in Garland County, and that is the Mrs. Arkansas America. We have 19 lovely ladies who are going to vie for that title this Saturday at 7 at the Hot Springs Convention Center. And I'll just go ahead and read off the ticket information. Tickets are $15 in advance, $18 general admission, and $25 for reserved seating. Okay?
Very good. Thank you. Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to the veterans activities that the city manager mentioned, the Forest Lakes neighborhood is having a special veterans recognition ceremony on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock at the center at Forest Lakes. And I wanted to thank all of the veterans that are here, and thank you for your service and all the veterans in our city.
Thank you. Director Davidson.
Yes, I wanted to let everyone know about Light Uptown Park Avenue. Through another successful public-private partnership between the City of Hot Springs and the Park Avenue Community Association, the Avenue's first historic-style street light will be activated during a lighting ceremony scheduled for 6 p.m. Monday, November the 13th, in front of DeLuca's Pizzeria Napolitana, Park Avenue at 407 Park Avenue. PACA members, project supporters, city officials, volunteers, Light Uptown Park Avenue donors, and the general public are welcome to attend. Flipping the switch will be members of PACA who have been raising funds with the goal of extending the specially chosen ornate streetlights throughout Uptown, as they've chosen to call it. The city is proud to support this project, which will increase the beauty and safety of Park Avenue. We saw one at one of the meetings, and they're sort of an oblong shape, and they look like something out of the 1920s. They're very pretty, and they're very expensive. So we've managed to raise enough money for one, I think, which was about $6,000. So, thank you.
Any other upcoming announcements or events?
Got mine as usual.
Okay. I want to make a shout out or a plug for the upcoming Spa Running Festival. This is the finisher medal for the this year's Summit 2 Challenge, 2 trips up West Mountain, and you'll start and finish in front of the Embassy Suites. It's quite heavy, and if I wore it around my neck, my head would go down to the tabletop before the end of the meeting. So there's still time. 2 weeks ago, there were 900 registrants for all the events total, with additional 400 anticipated. I meant to call today to get a new head count, but there's still time. There's a distance for everybody, Director Foley.
Right.
It's backwards. The half marathon. They got a 10K. Which is just up and over the mountain and back, and a 5K that's really for Hot Springs is a flat 5K, as flat as you can get in Hot Springs. And then they have the Spa Squirt Run, and that's a really fun race to watch the little kids run down in front of the convention center and back. So please get out, and if you're unable to participate in the run, you can volunteer. We're looking for more volunteers to pass out water and to help at the start line, finish line. So, and I want to recognize, I just got this in my mail. Sheila handed it to me today. We have a couple entities here in town that are being recognized by Preserve Arkansas. And it says, Dear Mayor McCabe, on behalf of the board of Preserve Arkansas and the Arkansas Preservation Awards Selection Committee, it is my pleasure to inform you that the following projects will be honored at the 2017 Arkansas Preservation Awards Banquet on January 19, 2018 at Historic Albert Pike Memorial Temple, 712 Scott Street in downtown Little Rock. Excellence in preservation through rehabilitation, Thompson Building, the Waters Hotel. Taylor Kempkes Architects and Harrison Construction. Outstanding service in neighborhood preservation. The Park Avenue Community Association for the historic Park Avenue walking tour. If you've never done that, you've got to do that. My wife and I have done that, and it's very enjoyable. A lot of history. They dressed of the era, and so you kind of put yourself back in time. And then excellence in personal projects. Zachary Smith and Cheryl Rorda at 236-238-240 Washtenaw Avenue, restoration of a building that I understand has a pizza restaurant called Squeeze Box, and then also has a solar radio station in it, I understand. So 3 projects right here in the heart of downtown Hot Springs. So they ought to be congratulated on their recognition. So. All right.
Mayor?
With that, hello?
I really hate to bring up politics, but historic preservation, the federal National Historic Preservation entity is, someone has decided to put it on the chopping block, and that's going up for vote in Congress this week. So if you would contact your representatives, we'd appreciate it, because we know how many dollars through historic preservation have turned downtown around. We couldn't have done it without that support. Thank you.
Thank you. This time, we'll consider the consent agenda. These items are of a routine nature and generally do not involve discussion, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
We've got a motion by Director Clark, seconded by Director Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. Under new business, we have a few resolutions and one ordinance. So I ask the city attorney to read by title only resolution number R-17-116.
Resolution R-17-161, a resolution approving a contract with Motorola Solution Alternative Proposal, AWIN, for the establishment of the city's P25 radio communications network. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll make that
Motion by
motion.
Director Foley,
I'm
seconded by Director Williams. This time we'll call upon our chiefs.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager,
Welcome.
and Board of Directors, and City Attorney, other honored guests. Tonight is a culmination of 4 years of effort on behalf of Hot Springs Police Department, Hot Springs Fire Department. We stand before you ready to recommend a vendor for the procurement of a radio system for the City of Hot Springs Police and Fire Departments, as well as other allied city agencies. Tonight, though, before we get started, I would like to recognize all of the people who worked on the committee that made this possible. Assistant Chief Chapman, if you could come up. Randy Atkins, if you could come up. Tom Broughton, if you could come forward as well. We'd just like to make sure that everyone that was involved in it, Monty Ledbetter cannot be here tonight, and Mary Burks is not here tonight. Mary is our purchasing agent for the city, and Greg Spees. Mary is our purchasing agent for the city, and she did a lot of work for us in this process, so we need to recognize her. Greg, of course, he is actually the one who will have to keep the licenses up once we get the system up. And we all know Randy from sanitation. Tom is my fire marshal, and of course, Assistant Chief Chapman. All of these folks work very, very hard in the process of vetting each of the proposals. If you haven't seen the proposals, they're about as thick as Brian's law book there, and there were 2 books in each proposal, and we had 3 proposals to go through. We went through those twice, so there's a lot of work done by the committee. But tonight, what we would like to recommend to you is that you accept Motorola Solutions' alternate AWIN proposal in the amount of $4,900,477. That is the figure with tax. It's actually about $4.5 million without tax, for the establishment of the city's P25 radio communications network. The Motorola AWIN proposal meets or exceeds all the parameters we established for a radio system. In fact, Motorola came through in many ways. They convinced the county to, bring their system online, meeting our specifications, which would be having a TDMA system that has a grade of service of less than 1%, which is an outstanding grade of service for any municipality. It means that our first responders and our users of the system won't get any busy signals during normal use and operation. Motorola exceeded our specifications. We'd said that our portable coverage needed to be 95% in the city. There's the system they're going to give us is 97%. We said that our mobile coverage needed to be 97%, and Clay tells me that this is 99%. I cannot find the 1% that is not covered by the mobile units inside the city. So he's going to come up here in just a little bit and do a little slideshow for you and let you know exactly what you're getting. But we're here tonight to tell you that this is the system that we need. It's fully interoperable with the state of Arkansas, will be interoperable with other agencies in Hot Springs and Garland County, will allow us to be able to get on state police channels and get on our channels if we need to. It also gives us a host of other multi-agency channels, channels to be able to, if for some reason or another we needed to talk to a hospital in Texarkana, the police department could get on, or I could get on, we could talk to anybody. I mean, even the governor would have the ability to drill down the system and talk to a firefighter or a police officer. Not that he would want to, but he would have the ability to do that on this system. So it's very versatile, it's very capable, and I think it'll meet our needs for many years to come. Chief, is there anything you'd like to say?
I think you said it all. Any questions of Chief Davis or Chief Stacy?
Who's going to be your project manager for both the equipment and the software? I'm sorry, I'm supposed to speak into the microphone. Who's going to be your project manager for the equipment and the software?
Well, we'll have assistance. We're going to bring forward a proposal for you to engage with federal engineering. They've been our consultant through the first half of this journey, phase 1. For phase 2, the actual implementation of the plan, we're going to bring forth a request to hire federal again. Federal will actually do much of the project management as far as like the final say on it before it goes up the chain to our boss. I'll be managing the radio system, and Chief Stacy will be managing the dispatch construction.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We have Clay Whitehead from Motorola here tonight. He has a slide presentation for you, and with your permission, we'd like to have him come and say a few words to you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, folks, for giving us the opportunity to compete for this business opportunity. I personally would like to commend the evaluation committee and apologize for the mountain of documentation that we provided for these folks to have to read through. I think the Chief did a very good job of describing exactly how much information is required to evaluate technology complexity is what is being provided in the radio system. So let me get right to the slides and give you a high-level view of exactly what you're getting with the new radio system. So your users are actually going to be the first agency in the state of Arkansas to operate with the latest public safety standard that's called Project 25 TDMA. This gives additional capacity for users on the system above and beyond what they have with their systems today. That's going to allow your system to support all your city agencies that use two-way radio. So everybody can share one system instead of everybody having separate systems. That allows you to have more efficiency of operation and direct interoperability with each other. And because it's based on the state's Arkansas Wireless Information Network, you're leveraging a lot of assets that are already in place today. Tower sites that belong to AWIN that are in Garland County and provide coverage into the city today, as well as microwave backhaul that provides connectivity back to the central core in Little Rock that is operated by the AWIN staff. So there's a lot of technology that's already in place today that you can leverage by integrating with the AWIN system. This technology is also going to provide multiple levels of redundancy. So it has no single point of failure in the network. You've got overlapping coverage from multiple towers, so you have lots of fallback capability if there were any failures in the system. And you're going to get new radio dispatch consoles at your 911 center, as well as a new voice logging recorder. So all calls that come in to the 911 center are going to have the latest technology to be able to record that and archive your radio traffic as well as your 911 calls. The bottom line is all of this new technology and the stringent requirements that your first responder evaluation committee put together is going to lead to a much safer operational environment for your police, your fire service, your EMTs, and even your secondary responders within the city. So some of the cost savings that the chief mentioned come from integrating directly with AWIN and leveraging a lot of those assets. And those assets that the city has to purchase on their own are also under additional warranty. So there's some cost savings there for the out years of support. This view gives you a look at just how much coverage the city gets with the 3 sites that the city is buying and integrating with the existing AWIN network. So what you're seeing right here, if you imagine a police or a firefighter's handheld portable, or what you may know as a walkie-talkie, this is portable coverage in the outdoor environment. So this covers virtually all of the city of Hot Springs today and beyond, because that coverage is compounded with what AWIN provides in the state today. And then we're also providing additional commitment to coverage in what the city has identified as specific critical buildings that are within the city limits, including some buildings that are outside the city limits, like the community college as well as the county jail. So there's a requirement for city first responders to go in and out of those facilities as well, so they need in-building coverage in those areas. So we're providing a minimum 95% reliable coverage in each of those buildings. And there's actually about 70 buildings on that critical building list. And then this is what you get for what we refer to as a mobile radio that's mounted in a patrol car or fire apparatus. So that's a higher power unit. It gets higher coverage, so we're committing to a higher reliability with that. And as the chief mentioned, you would really have to strain to find even one little speck of non-coverage within the city limits for what a mobile radio provides. So at the PD Center, this is a look at what the new dispatch console will provide. Your 911 dispatchers are actually operating with a DOS-based operating system on their computers today. So don't have to raise your hand, but if you know what DOS is, you're dating yourself. That is several decades old. So very glad to see that the city is upgrading those computers to the latest Microsoft Windows operating environment. So now you'll have a lot more intuitive operation for your dispatchers, less typing and more point and click to access critical dispatch functions. That's what that translates to. So faster response for inbound calls means faster response for the fire department, faster response for law enforcement, safer environment all the way around. And then the chiefs touched a little bit on the interoperability. So by tying into the AWIN system, your users, if you ever have an officer or even one of the chiefs leaves town to go to a conference or go to training, anywhere in the state they go that AWIN has coverage, they have direct communications back to their command level people on the street as well as dispatch here, and interoperability with all the other agencies that are currently on AWIN today. So just to wrap up some of the key values of our AWIN-based alternate proposal, this solution, based on what it provided, leveraging AWIN assets today, provides the city the lowest total cost of ownership of all the options that were available, more radio coverage within and beyond the city limits than any of the other offerings, the highest available network design in terms of reliability and redundancy, seamless voice and data services throughout the state. If you want to be able to track the location of any of your personnel when they leave the city limits, they're going to have radios that have GPS location active in those radios. So you can know where they are within the city limits or outside of the city limits. If you need to locate, especially in an emergency scenario, somebody gets out of the city, something happens, you need to know where they are. You'll even be able to track them by GPS with the technology that we're providing. And you'll have a much simpler scenarios with interoperability, whether it's within other agencies within the city, or if a local city police officer needs to communicate with a state patrol officer or any of the other agencies that are directly on AWIN today. They will have access to shared channels and be able to communicate with those folks just by turning a knob on the radio. So are there any questions that you folks may have?
Director
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes, on the archiving, how long can the 911 calls be archived?
Usually that depends on what the state law requires for evidentiary purposes. I'll have to check on exactly what that is, but usually I think in Georgia where I'm from, it's about 5 years. So this technology will support that in Georgia, so I know it would be at least 5 years.
And there's no problem in saving those and retrieving those within that 5-year period?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. White? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much. Thank you.
your presentation. Any questions for Chief Davis or Chief Stacy? Director Garcia?
I just wanted to thank them. They spent time with me to get me up to speed with the binders that were like 8 inches thick of data. And I appreciate the team and your leadership and all the due diligence that was put forth. And it appeared to me it would be beneficial and that we work together with the county and with the state police and with the National Park Service. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. We want to be able to communicate with all of our mutual aid partners, volunteer fire departments, state
Right.
police, U.S. Forest Service, Forestry Commission. The list goes on and on. There's a lot of folks out there during time of emergency you need to be able to
Right.
make contact with.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. We have one, I'm sorry, Director Williams, did you have a question?
Oh, if they've got somebody calling.
I do have a citizen.
I'll go after that. Thank you.
Okay, we have one individual who's signed up to speak, and Mr. Jason Gartner. Mr. Gartner, welcome.
Members of the board, my name is Jason Gartner. I'm the manager for LifeNet Ambulance Service here in town, and I'm going to make it really brief and simple to say we're 100% in support of this. We think it's the right decision, and we use AWIN system every day of the week, and every single one of our ambulances talk to Little Rock for the trauma system. Never have had a problem. It works perfectly fine, and I can't wait for it to work for us in the city and the county.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Mr. Gardner? Thank you. Director Williams.
I just want to tell you how pleased I am that we're going with AWIN. I had some concerns 2 years ago when we authorized the study that there were some people who felt that a proprietary system might have been in our best interest, which I was totally against that. I might tell you that in my past I was president of the County Judges Association from 2005 to 2007, and my first official act as president was to appoint the past president, Sonny Cox, to the AWIN Advisory Board. Had I known that I was going to be on this board, I might have changed my mind about that decision. But Sonny did a fabulous job and continues to update me on developments with AWIN. And then just one final thing I'd like to say about waiting on this system, because it's been a number of years. In 2008, when the voters authorized, actually they defeated the sales tax but approved the jail, approved the public communication system for both the city and county. But the ballot title at that time called for issuance of bonds of the city of Hot Springs in the maximum principal amount of $8,975,000 for the purpose of financing all or proportion or portion of the installation of a public communication system. And the county's cost was about $3 million less at $1,945,000. Well, as we can see by waiting, that both the city and county have can say, although it has been at a morale cost, but in terms of actual cost in dollars, we've saved money by waiting. And I am just delighted that we are taking this step tonight.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? Hearing none, please call the question. Call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Davidson?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Garcia?
Aye.
Folly?
Aye.
McCabe?
Aye. Resolution's adopted. At this time, we'll consider Resolution R-17-162 and ask the city attorney to please read by title only.
Resolution R-17-162, a resolution adopting a budget for the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas for the year 2018. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Very good. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So move.
We have a motion by Director Davidson, seconded by
Second.
Director Garcia. Ask the city manager for his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the board for a long evening last week, working through our budget and the various presentation components that we put forward. We made the adjustments that the board requested. We emailed those back to you. This afternoon, I sent you our 16-page budget message, which is now available. And after tonight, will be posted on our website as well. So it's my pleasure to present to you the 2018 budget for the City of Hot Springs. This budget is balanced, has been prepared in accordance with Arkansas budget law and applicable local ordinances. The 2018 total budget is $113.5 million. This budget is specifically designed to align with the Board of Directors' vision, goals, and priorities for the City of Hot Springs, and also consistent with our current service levels throughout the city. And Mayor, we'll take any questions if there are any, or entertain your motion.
We had no members of the audience sign up for this topic. Is there any questions or comments from individual directors? Director Garcia.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a few comments. We currently have a half-cent sales tax for the fire and police. And it was in the budget, as you see, at $8.4 million. But we have to transfer another $4.6 million out of the general fund to operate our fire and police department. And with that, we don't have additional funds to pay for the capital needs, such as the communication system that we just approved, but that is necessary for the public safety and the safety of these courageous employees that serve in the police and fire departments, as well as other agencies in the city. Well, it was in 1998 that half-cent sales tax was approved. You know, gas was $1, a little over $1 a gallon. Stamps were 32 cents. The average cost of the automobile was $17,200. Today, 20 years later, it's for the police to have fully equipped is $25,000 to $30,000 for a police car. How many times has the minimum wage gone up in that time? I believe I looked, and Social Security had 17 increases over that period. And we are not properly funding our police and fire departments. When we have to transfer out of our general fund $4.6 million, we do not have the adequate funds to operate the other general fund departments. That's why we cannot do what we need to do with our parks and our parks projects and other agencies across the city, City Hall, the other buildings that we are responsible to take care of, and we continue to patch and to do what we can to get by. In 2010, a committee of public citizens and staff made a presentation to the board at that time that we needed this about our unfunded liabilities, and we needed that communication system at that time. But we are just now being able to do it. And that's for a temporary property tax that will end in 2018. But I believe that we as a city need to talk about this and look at options and possibilities. How can we fund our needs for the police and fire? We have trouble now attracting police officers, Chief. I understand that you've had some trouble for recruitment in this because we're not keeping up with everything as we did. In 20 years, a lot of things have changed. The technology, we didn't have body cameras. We didn't have the things that we need to operate most effectively and to protect our officers as well as our citizens. So as a city, I would like for us to think about this and think about coming together and looking at options of how we can better support our police and fire and keep our funding to where we're keeping up. Because in 20 years, when that half-cent went into effect, at that time we tripled our costs just for the police cars and equipment, but the costs have gone up, requirements have gone up since that time, and we have no increase in revenues to speak of other than the half-cent tax, and it's not adequate to cover their needs.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Oh,
Director Jones.
She was talking, I was trying to listen and I couldn't understand. All I can say is I am glad that the employees got to get a little more money for the milk and the egg and the bread, because it went up too.
It went up a lot too, you're right.
Director Williams.
This is for my own clarification. When the voters approved that initiated ordinance in 1998 for the 0.5% public safety tax, a provision of that, which was to keep the board from saying, okay, now you got your own tax, we don't have to fund you out of the general fund. Was that amount that you just talked to, was it a dollar amount or was it a fixed percentage of the budget that they had at that time?
Dollar amount.
A dollar amount? Not a fixed percentage, but it's a dollar amount. In other words, that's what they had in 1998. Okay.
It's my recollection, Director.
All right. You know what? It's hard to believe that it's been almost 20 years ago, but
20 years.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. This time we'll consider resolution number R-17-163 and call upon the city attorney to read by title.
Mayor, this is Resolution R-17-163, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 at 423 Leawood. That concludes the reading. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion to adopt. We have a motion.
So moved.
We got a motion by Director Clark, seconded by Director Jones. And Mike is going to...
Thank y'all. I'm Mike Scott, Chief Building Official for the City of Hot Springs. This is a property at 423 Leawood. It actually first burned about a year ago. It burned, and the fire department did an excellent job putting it out the first time. It could have been rebuilt. As you see, it burned again, and now it cannot be rebuilt, so we need a cleanup. So we're asking to have this property condemned. The owner has signed a demo waiver, which means that he is approving the city to step in and demo it. He qualifies for CDBG funds. So we'll be using community development block grant funds, no general funds, and everything's good to go, quick as we get it condemned.
Any questions of Mr. Scott? Mr. Albright.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R 17163 condemning certain real property at 423 Leawood? 423 Leawood. Hearing none, Mayor, if there's no other discussion, please call the roll.
Please call the roll.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. This time we'll consider resolution number R 17164, and I ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R 17164, a resolution awarding a contract to Crist Engineers, Inc. for water storage tank project. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Very good. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Director Foley, seconded by Director Garcia. And we have Mr. Gary Carnahan to make a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we're proposing to build a new water storage tank over in the Cornerstone Plaza back behind Lowe's property. And since we have selected that location, we need to extend our city main water, 24-inch water main to that site, and then a 16-inch water main from that site back out to Central Avenue to serve that Central Avenue Higdon Ferry commercial area, large area. So in order to design those water mains, we are asking you to approve this contract with Crist Engineers for $88,000. $54,000 is for design services and $34,000 for the construction phase services that they'll provide. Any questions?
Any questions of Mr. Carnahan? Hearing none, thank you. Any discussion amongst the board members? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Williams,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. This time we'll consider ordinance number 01741. But first I need to entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
A motion by Director Davidson, seconded by
Second.
Director Clark.
Director Clark. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Mr. Attorney, please read by title only.
Ordinance 01741, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding and authorizing a sole source agreement with Brown Engineers LLC for headwork/UV equipment and controls. That concludes your reading. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Got a motion by Director Foley,
Second.
seconded by Director Williams. This time, Mr. Carnahan will make another presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. As you know, we're making major improvements to our regional wastewater treatment plant for $8 million worth of work to eliminate chlorination, install ultraviolet radiation instead for disinfection of our wastewater. In addition to that, we're replacing all of the headworks, grit chambers, bar screens, recycling pumps and everything at the beginning of the plant. It's a major project with a lot of motors and controls, new motors and controls and operations. So it's important that we connect all that through our SCADA system so that we can have automated control that works and is compatible with the other controls we have in our utility department with our water and pump stations, water tanks, wastewater plants, and all of that. So previously, the city has approved Brown Engineers as our sole source provider of that very technical service. And so we're asking today that you approve waive competitive bidding and award this contract to Brown Engineers to provide the integration of those controls into our SCADA system for this headworks and UV project. The amount of their contract is $113,081.
Any questions of Mr. Carnahan? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We had no members of the public sign up for this topic. Any discussion amongst directors? Director Davidson.
I just appreciate not only all the material that we got, but the explanations and the process that you've taken us through to explain all of this, and it's very thorough, and thank you.
Very good.
I understand something is good. Good job.
Okay, if there's no further discussion amongst the directors, please call the roll.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. That concludes the business section of the board meeting, and now we're under the board commentary section. Any comments from directors? Director Foley.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to give a shout out of thanks to Chiefs Stacey and Davis. On Halloween, I live in Eastgate too, and it's a kind of an enclosed subdivision. I don't know, 300 to 400 homes in that area, but there's only one way in and one way out. And it's generally jammed so full that people park on Lakeside Drive. They park along the streets, both sides of the streets. I think a couple of years ago, it took me about 45 minutes to get to my home once I got into the entrance. This year, there was a chimney fire in one of the homes during this process, and so getting a fire truck in there, they could not get the ladder truck in. They got the fire truck in. But because of the encouragement of Officer Joey Williams and the police department to form neighborhood organizations, set up a communication network where we have a Facebook page, one of the neighbors took it upon themselves to get a group together to talk to the two chiefs and see if they can find a solution for next year. There was an altercation in the neighborhood too. I thought just everybody was friendly there, but obviously not. And the nice part of all of this was both of the chiefs invited the community to come and give input. It wasn't just a matter of them going and saying this is what has to be. They've gotten the community's input into it, so much so that I believe our community is going to probably be putting some money toward hiring some police officers next year just to manage the volume of people that go into that neighborhood. So this whole idea of the city departments, police, fire, and other departments working with the community and making a special effort to make sure that they're involved. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. It is surely well received by our community. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. That's great. Director Clark.
Just have a brief one. There were some street cuts that had to be done in area near where I live. And in the past, that's just always been such a problem. And one of the streets was in pretty good shape. It had just been overlaid a couple of years ago. And I was so disheartened when I saw them out there digging up to put in the new gas lines and things. But I don't know if it's the new policy or new enforcement, but by golly, they came over and overlaid the entire intersection.
Good.
And it's better than it used to be, and there aren't the hip humps and dips and all the bad stuff that went on. So I want to thank the folks. I think it was maybe Coakley that did it, but our street department and city engineer and all that's been going on to really make that a better process.
Thank you, Director Clark. Director Williams.
Will we be voting on the water rate increase at our next meeting or the following meeting?
I think we're scheduled, anticipated it'd be at the next meeting.
Okay. I just have this thought. You may have recalled in a previous work session, I took my own water bill and walked off through the various steps so that I would understand my own water bill. And one of the things that struck me was we do have that the stormwater fee, a flat rate of $4 on residential. I'm still looking for a way to perhaps soften that. I'd like for the staff to take another look at the stormwater budget and look at that we just approved, the mandatory spending, the non-discretionary spending versus discretionary spending, because 56% of our revenue for that fund comes from that residential charge. And if we could somehow figure out a way to lower that budget and the need for that, we could realize the savings of at least $1 or $2 on that bill, not 33 cents or something. If it's not worth $1 or $2, it's not worth fooling with. So I'd just like to ask you perhaps to take another look at that budget. Again, looking at the non-discretionary versus discretionary aspect of the spending, see if that might be a way to soften the increase that's coming. If you find something, I'd perhaps like to see it on the next agenda meeting.
Is that a motion?
No, it's just a board, it's a comment. I don't really, if somebody wants to make a motion, that's fine. I'm not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to also say in regards to the water, the city staff is looking at a program, and Bill had a little update this afternoon, it's called H2O, Help to Others. And it's a voluntary contribution to go into helping those that are struggling to pay their water utility bill to have additional funds provided to help them pay those bills. And we've got a lot of cities have adopted programs, and we've got cities within Arkansas that have, and it's our hope and desire that we have that in place for the next year. And we know that there are people that are limited on their funds and live week to week, and we want to, within the city, we care about everybody, and we want to help those that are in need, and we're looking at ways to do that.
Thank you, Director Garcia. Director Burrows. Why not?
Mayor, members of the board, in a kind of break of protocol, I did want to speak to the board at the end of your meeting tonight. And I know through discussions with board members and through our budget work session that the board truly understands the importance of remaining competitive in order to attract qualified candidates when we have open positions. And from a management standpoint, I really appreciate that. But one of the things I wanted the board to know tonight is there was a recent article in the paper that discussed a 3% COLA in this year's budget. And I can't tell you how many employees have stopped me since that article was in the paper. And we're extremely appreciative that that was proposed in the budget. And I know they're watching tonight. And two of those conversations actually happened this morning as soon as I got in. You know, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that's going to be able to stay? And those kind of questions. And I just want the board to know how appreciative the employees are. And I know they're watching tonight. And on behalf of all of them, I just want to thank you for recognizing that and providing a cost of living increase for the employees this year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we do so, Mayor.
Motion by
Thank you
Director
very
Jones, seconded by
I'll second it.
Director Williams. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is approved. We're adjourned. Thank you all. Drive safely as you go home tonight. Streets are wet.